Disconnect. Since it's too down for a while. Go on. Hmm. Go on. Hmm.
Suddenly, an cling of understanding dawned in his crimson eyes, a flicker of recognition from some deep, forgotten lore he must have studied in his quest for power. It cannot be, he whispered, his voice losing its confident hiss. The progenitors, they are a myth. A children's story told to frighten fledgling vampires. Harry's smile widened, revealing for the first time a hint of the elongated canines that now graced his mouth. Myths are merely memories that have outlived the witnesses. And you, Tom, have just borne witness to the return of the original. The revelation hung in the air. The ambition was greater than his fear. To him, this was not a threat, it was an opportunity. The ultimate power, delivered to him on a silver platter. Then you will serve me, he declared, his voice regaining its command. Your power will be my power. Together, we will be unstoppable. We will be gods. Harry threw his head back and laughed. It was not the laugh of a boy. It was a rich, dark, and terribly mirthless sound that echoed through the graveyard, a sound that spoke of ancient tombs and forgotten kingdoms. You still do not understand, Harry said, his laughter ceasing as abruptly as it began. He straightened up, his posture radiating an aura of absolute royalty, as if he were wearing an invisible crown and robes of shadow. You are a footnote in a history that I am about to rewrite. You are a means to an end. Your ritual was the key, but the door it has opened is not for you. With a flick of his wrist, the Priori Incantatum connection between his and Voldemort's wands, which had been severed, re-established itself without him even touching his own wand. A shimmering, golden dome of light erupted between them, far more powerful than before. The ghostly echoes of Voldemort's previous victims began to emerge from the Dark Lord's wand, not as faint, smoky apparitions, but as solid, vengeful spirits, their eyes burning with golden light. Cedric, Frank Bryce, Bertha Jerkins, and then, Lily and James Potter. But they did not look at Voldemort. They looked at their son, at the powerful, magnificent being he had become, and they did not show fear or confusion. They showed recognition. They bowed their heads in a gesture of profound, instinctual reverence. Voldemort stared, utterly aghast. This was not how the magic worked. This was a perversion. This ends now, Tom, Harry said, his voice calm and final. He raised his hand, and the Triwizard Cup, still gleaming innocently on the ground, flew into his grasp. He spared one last glance for the cowering form of Wormtail. Tell your master that the world he sought to conquer is no longer his to claim. There is a new power in the world, and I am not nearly as forgiving as the boy I used to be. He clutched Cedric's body with his other hand, and with a final, pitying look at the stunned Dark Lord, he activated the portkey. The familiar, nauseating lurch at his navel was the last sensation he felt before the coin. Darkness of the graveyard was replaced by the chaotic, torch-lit grounds of Hogwarts. He landed in a heap on the edge of the maze, the massive crowd roaring in what they believed to be triumph. The wound was a physical assault on his new senses. The band she had felt it, a tremor in the very fabric of their existence, a surge of raw, untamed, primeval power that had not been felt on the earth for over 1,000 years. The blood of the progenitor, she whispered, her voice a melody of disbelief and awe. Her hand, holding the glass, trembled almost imperceptibly. An older, stern-faced vampire in formal attire appeared silently at her side. Princess Serafina, is something amiss? She did not turn to look at him. Her gaze remained fixed on the distant horizon, as if she could pierce the veil of miles and see the source of the disturbance. Ready the delegation, Vladimir, she commanded, her voice Barty Crouch Jr. Confess because I compelled him to. Lord Voldemort has returned to a physical body, and he murdered Cedric Diggory. These are ancient eyes. It came from the doorway, where a group of figures now stood, their peak. Recents so sudden and silent that no one had noticed their approach. There were 4 of them. 2 were guards, tall and broad-shouldered, dressed in immaculate, form-fitting black uniforms that seemed to absorb the light. Their faces were handsome but utterly devoid of emotion, their eyes a pale, chilling blue. They radiated an aura of discipline, lethal power. The 3rd was an older man, gaunt and severe, with a neatly trimmed gray goatee and wearing robes of a deep, midnight blue, embroidered with silver thread. His posture was ramrod straight, his expression one of disdainful superiority. But it was the fourth figure, the one who had spoken, that drew every eye in the room. She was a young woman, perhaps appearing to be in her late teens, of such breathtaking, otherworldly beauty that it seemed to defy nature. Her hair was a cascade of polished jet, falling straight down her back. Her skin was the color of alabaster, flawless and pale. She wore a long, elegant gown of deep amethyst that shimmered as she moved, tailored with a precision that bespoke immense wealth and status. But it was her eyes that were the most captivating. They were the same shade as her gown, a deep, luminous violet. And they blazed with an intelligence and authority that was thousands of years old. She stepped into the hospital wing, her movements a paradigm of regal grace. The air around her seemed to grow colder, charged with a power that was ancient, refined, and utterly vampiric. The older man with the goatee stepped forward, his eyes sweeping over the assembled wizards with thinly veiled contempt. "I am Vladimir Volkov, Chamberlain to the Sovereign House of Dragon," he announced, his voice a crisp, formal baritone. "I present Her Royal Highness, Princess Serafina Dragonor, scion of the Carpathian Covenants and emissary of the Vampire Nation." Fudge's jaw dropped. He stared at the newcomers as if they were apparitions. The Vampire Nation was notoriously reclusive and almost never dealt directly with the British ministry, which they considered to be a provincial backwater. An official visit from a member of their royalty was an unprecedented event. Serafina's amethyst eyes ignored everyone else. They swept the room until they found Harry, and they locked onto him. The moment their gazes met, the world seemed to fall away. For Harry, it was like a physical impact. He saw her, and it was not just a visual perception. He felt her. He felt the immense, ancient power that coursed through her veins, a power that was kin to his own, yet different. Hers was a long, unbroken river, a lineage of power carefully curated and refined over millennia. His was a resurrected ocean, a raw, primal force reborn into the world. It was the meeting of aristocracy and primordial sovereignty. He could smell the faint, intoxicating scent of night-blooming jasmine and cold stone that clung to her. He could hear the slow, impossibly steady beat of her heart, a rhythm that spoke of absolute control. He could see her aura, a magnificent, swirling corona of amethyst and silver, ancient and proud. And in the depths of that aura, he felt the resonance, the echo of the blood that he now possessed. She was of the same kind, a descendant of the same ancient race, but she was not a progenitor. She was a branch, he was the root. Serafina, for her part, felt the shock of recognition just as keenly. She had felt the surge of his awakening across the continent, a raw, untamed tsunami of progenitor power. But feeling it at a distance and standing before its source were two vastly different things. He was just a boy, clad in torn and dirty tournament robes, yet the power that radiated from him was terrifying and magnificent. It was the power of her people's legends, the power of their genesis, made flesh. His eyes, the color of the killing curse yet holding the depth of the void, seemed to see straight through her, past the princess, past the vampire, and into the very essence of her ancient soul. She took a graceful step forward, her gaze never leaving his. "You are the one," she said, her voice a soft, musical whisper that was meant only for him, yet it carried in the silent room the source of the echo. "And you are the one who felt it," Harry replied, his own voice just as quiet, a low, resonant baritone that met her melodic whisper and intertwined with it. Fudge, finally finding his voice, blustered. "Princess, I am Minister Cornelius Fudge. We had no word of your arrival. This is highly irregular." Serafina did not even glance at him. Her entire universe had contracted to the space between herself and the boy who was not a boy. "We had matters to discuss at the Bulgarian summit concerning the repeated breaking of the Covenant 82 by their wizarding government," she said, her voice now louder. Colder, addressing the room but her eyes still on Harry. "But a matter of far greater importance has arisen. The ancient blood has awakened. The old lines have been restored." She took another step, closing the distance until she was only a few feet from him. She was tall, and their eyes were almost on a level. "The Vampire Nation wishes to know who you are. My name is Harry Potter," he said simply.
right here. Well, see you in the morning. See you then, I guess. After class. You know, like we do. So see you in the morning.